So, welcome everyone. We are going to talk today about confidence, and that's a hard one. I mean, I struggle with confidence. I know that might seem a little bit shocking to some people because I come across very confident, but confidence is hard. It's one of those things that you feel like, oh, I should have confidence, or I wish I had confidence, but and we get it confused. We think I have to have confidence in order to do something, right? So I have to have confidence in order to do a presentation, or I have to have confidence in order to go into the shelter and share Animal Reiki. Hey, Kelly, so good to see you. But it doesn't start off like that. It's actually starts off with courage. You need courage to do these things. You don't need confidence first. You need courage first. And courage is a lot easier to get to because usually we have courage because we have a goal, right? We have a desire. So if your goal is to go help animals with Animal Reiki, it's easy to find the courage because you're like, oh, okay, I need to be with them. They need the Animal Reiki. So courage definitely comes before confidence. We have more people joining us, so I might get a little interrupted. Sorry about that and lose my train of thought, but I'll try to keep it on. Hello, Carolyn, and hello, Mary Lynn. So good to see you both. So we're just starting our talk on confidence. And how do we have confidence? Oh, we've got another person coming. How do we have confidence when we don't really feel it deep inside of us? And so, you know what, before I get into like these steps, I'll just tell some stories about confidence for me. So one of the things I absolutely hate doing is, hello, Brenda, thanks so much for joining us. One of the things I hate is going to conferences. And when I was in cannabis, I used to have to go to a lot of conferences because we had a new product. And so we had to share it. Yeah, good to see you, Brenda. We had to share it. And it was really like, even though it doesn't seem like I'm an introvert, I think I'm a selective introvert. And going to those conferences was really overwhelming. It just would bum me out. I would get so stressed out because I hate walking up to people. And I even took classes like Robbie Samuels is an author. And if you ever want to learn how to do Zoom, I was just talking to Deborah about this, or not Deborah, to Susan about this, Susan Gebler, who's on the call with us. I was talking to her about it and sharing his book about how to get confidence on Zoom. And he walks you through all the steps so that you feel really confident. But another thing, how he started off, it wasn't through Zoom, that came through COVID. But way before that, he has a book called, I think it's Bagels and Croissants, or Bagels versus Croissants, or something like that. And he talks all about like networking and what to say and how to go up to people. And so I know Robbie, he's become a friend and he's a wonderful man. And like, he's counseling me on this. We were in a mastermind together is how I met him. And so it's like, oh, you should do this and this and this. So I would go to these cannabis conferences and you try and like introduce yourself and it's just so awkward. And then I had a product that nobody wanted because it was safety and it was all about marketing edibles, and people were like, we don't want to do that. And because there's a bunch of stoners, of course they don't want to mark their edibles for safety. So I'm like the big mom walking in the room, and it's really uncomfortable, right? And so how do you get confidence after you do a couple of those? It just sucked. I just felt like everything was leaving me. And a lot of it was I didn't feel comfortable with my product. Like I got more comfortable because you have to after years, right? And that's another thing, that confidence. The more you have to do something, the more you know your trade, your craft, becomes easier and easier and easier. So when I started these calls with Jamie Lee, I don't know, a year and a half or 2 years ago, it was really hard. And it was, like, oh, what do we talk about? And we only had a couple of people showing up. And then that kind of destroys your confidence, right? You're like, oh, we only have a couple people showing up. This is weird. And should we even continue with this? And so there's that kind of weighs on you. But one thing, Denise Duffield Thomas is someone that I love. I follow her. She's amazing, and she's only getting more amazing. I remember when I was following her way back in like 2014, she was doing stuff on her iPhone. She wasn't even doing, like, everything now is super, super polished. Oh, Am I breaking up and freezing? Ooh, let me turn off. Let me see if I can turn off Dropbox. And we don't want that. So let me quit some things. And this was one of the things I was telling Susan, make sure you quit all your big programs so you don't freeze. So let me just quit some things here. Sorry about that. And we'll quit that. So yeah, this is Zoom 101 right now. If you start freezing or you're cutting up, just make sure that you cut out anything. So is this better? Am I still cutting up? Or is this a little better? No, I'm still cutting, or yes, it's better. Okay, great. All right, we will move on. Thank you so much for letting me know, Mary Lynn. I really appreciate that. So anyway, oh gosh, now I totally lost my train of thought. What? Oh, about Jamie Lee. So thank you, Kelly. So old person thing here. So it got to this point where we were, oh, thanks, Mel. We were trying to debate, do we continue? And so back to Denise Duffield Thomas, one thing she always says is be consistent. No matter what, like on your social media, whatever it is, be consistent, because it will pay off in the long run. And this really has, because now we consistently have at least 18 people on these calls, and that's really great. And so I feel like, oh, okay, I'm making a difference and I'm helping people, and that's why I'm here. That's what I want to be doing. So the confidence for me came from keeping up with it, from just like staying the course, and then, knowing more and more about my material. So confidence kind of came naturally. And it really started with, again, going back to courage. You have to have courage in order, way before you ever have confidence, you have to have courage. So I had to have the courage to even go, okay, I want to do Zoom calls and help people, right? And share my knowledge. And this was something that I got from my entrepreneur classes. It's like, oh yeah, you should be sharing. If you want to get a tribe, you really need to be sharing. And I'm like, okay. So when Jamie and I were doing that, at first it was really kind of sucky, because sometimes it would only be her and I on the calls. But through consistency, again, now we have people coming, and really we have a lot of people coming, because yes, there's about 18 people here now, but it's different people than sometimes normally show up. So there is a constant, flow of people coming and going, and it's really great. But I didn't have a lot of confidence when I started. So for all of you, if there's something you want to do, just find the courage within yourself and take that first step. So something I want to share with you is something I got from the entrepreneur groups, one of the entrepreneur groups I was in. Dan Sullivan has a famous mastermind. I was not in Dan Sullivan's mastermind. His is a little more expensive. His is, I think, $25,000 a year. I was not in that mastermind. But the mastermind I was in, Benjamin Hardy's mastermind, Dr. Hardy was very good friends with Dan Sullivan, and they wrote books together. So Dan Sullivan would come on and would share a lot that was happening. So one of the things I'm going to share my screen and share with you is kind of this formula for finding courage and then getting to confidence. So let me share this. And can you see this graphic? Alice, can you see that? Because I can see you. Okay, perfect. So you can see from this, it's kind of, I don't really like the way he did this, it's kind of backwards, but you have a commitment, right? So let's say for me, I had a commitment that I wanted to help people, and I wanted to share Animal Reiki in a bigger way. And so I had a commitment that starts there. I was saying starts with courage. Actually, it starts with your commitment. I wanted to be doing this. And then I found the courage. Okay, so if I don't do this, if I'm not sharing about Animal Reiki, of course, there's Kathleen sharing about Animal Reiki, but who will? And Kathleen and I attract completely different people. So if you're following Kathleen and you might study with Kathleen, she's giving you a certain thing. And then if you come to me, you kind of get a different thing, right? Because we're two totally different personalities. And the way we talk about things is completely different. Like we're kind of yin and yang, Kathleen and I. So, we always say that, like, she's like all soft, and then I'm all, yeah. And you come to the classes where she's teaching and I'm there, and it's like, I remember one of the classes, I said, oh, and that's just so effing awful. And you could see the ladies go, and then they started laughing. They're like, oh, I didn't think we could cuss. Cause Kathleen's like, she's all soft and everything. I was like, oh no, you guys just don't know Kathleen. She's a big F-bomber too, but she just doesn't do it like me. So it's like we have to be ourselves too. So you have the courage. So I had the courage. It's like, yes, Kathleen's doing it. And actually Kathleen's my guiding light. It's like, there's plenty of room for everybody at the table. We all have different tribes. So even like you going into the shelter and offering animal Reiki, remember, if one shelter says no, that does not mean that all the shelters are going to say no. It means that that shelter wasn't right for you. And you just have that courage. You have to have that courage to keep going to different shelters. So then you find the courage to go, and then you start to get the capability. So it wasn't like, yes, I had some capability before I started with Jamie, but as we went on, I got more and more capable. And because I was doing this, I started to learn more about Zoom. I started to learn more about hosting Zoom calls. Started studying with different people, like the Exchange group is a really great group. John, I think, oh God, I can never remember John's last name. I think it's Bergman. And he just talks about how to host really good Zoom calls and actually in-person meetings. So there's a lot of resources out there. And then Denise Duffield Thomas is a great inspiration too, because she talks a lot about this. But the capability starts to come. And once the capability starts to come, then the confidence is there. So now when I come on my Wednesday calls, I'm completely confident. I'm fine. If only 2 people showed up, it would be not a big deal because I'm confident with what I'm sharing. I know people watch the replays. I know that I'm offering a service. I know I'm sharing information that might not be readily available to everybody, or I'm sharing information that you don't have to go search for, right? So you can see this Dan Sullivan calls it the 4 C's, and I'll send this graphic to all of you, but it's commitment, then courage, right? Finding that courage. And with animals, it's really easy to find the courage because we know they need our help. So even like I'm not with animals on this call, but I know it's really important to encourage people to get out and be with animals, to encourage people who are already animal Reiki practitioners to go out and share your craft and your skill with animals. And then the more I do this, the more capable I get. Same with you. The more you do it, the more you go and practice animal Reiki in the shelter. And I know Kelly can talk about this, and I'll turn it over to her in just a second. Can talk about that. You get more confident the more you do it. And then confidence just builds. But guess what? Once you get to a certain stage, like, okay, I'm confident now, like right here, I'm confident with all you guys. Well, I need to take it a little bit further. I need to start making bigger presentations. So now I got to start it all over again. Oh, what's my commitment? Okay, my commitment is to go into a corporate office and share it with it, right? That's my big commitment. In Silicon Valley, when I go back, I want to go to an office that has animals and do a presentation and say, here's how you can make it more comfortable for your animals without even changing anything in the environment except for your energy, right? So then I have to go all over it again. I have to go, okay, I have to be committed to this. And I have to find the courage to reach out and ask these people if they'd be open to me coming. And then the more I do this, the more capable I'm going to become. I have some capability right now, but the more I do this, the more capable I'm going to get. And then I have confidence, and then I start over it again. Okay. So, you're going to get confident, you're going to get comfortable, but then you have to ratchet up, because you can stay where you are for the rest of your life, but there's no growth there, and you will start to feel dissatisfied. So really, this is a really wonderful way for not only for you to get confidence, but for you to have growth in your life. The more confident you get with something, the more you want to grow and expand. And Kelly, I would love to, I'm going to turn off this now. I would love for you to share about how you found confidence to go into the shelter.
Thanks, Leah. A lot of grounding was involved in that. And I, like you, I was like, well, who's going to do it? And that's one of the things Kathleen said to me too, when I was concerned about whether I could even handle doing something like that because of my inability to not want to bring everybody home, which we all experience going, I think. But I just, thought, well, this is something I'm very committed to, and it's really something I want to see, more of be able to do more in my life to give back to animals, and also make a difference that way. And what, I loved what, I'd been doing human Reiki for a long time at that point, and so I loved being able to help animals who oftentimes can't be helped, don't get the help they need. So I looked at it through that lens, and then that was the motivator for me. But I was petrified. So, and I also was very fortunate when I when I spoke with the manager. She said I could come in and talk to her, and she had her dog in the room, and the dog just passed out while I did a chair Reiki session on her, and so it went over right away. But that wasn't the case with her boss when her boss came back from maternity leave, and she was won over more by just the things that we do, where we go in and we offer to help, and we, chip in other ways instead of just doing Reiki, and just keeping to ourselves and not interfering or getting in the way. And over time, she was very accepting to that. But I just did a talk at my local library last week, which is why I wasn't here. And I was nervous because it had been a while. I haven't done a lot of them because of COVID, and I've just started to do them again. And there was something I did a lot of. And so the repetitiveness of being able to get out there and talk to people does build our confidence a lot. And I've been doing Reiki, working with letting animals lead and doing Reiki for a long time. And I still was like, all right. I mean, I'm not a person who has a list, right? So I have it in my head what I think, the order ought to be, but people had questions. And I mean, it all turned out fine, but I was more nervous going in just because I had not been doing it. But I keep, throughout the day, I kept reminding myself on the way there, I was like, I am the light, I am the light, all is well, all is well. And it's really challenging, but when it was over, I felt so good. Everybody, really got a lot out of it. And so that built my confidence too. So we get that, it's really hard to get in there, but once we get in there and we accomplish what we're there for, we feel boosted by that, and we're excited to go and do more.
Absolutely. So there's a
So
couple
doing
things.
it itself is the confidence builder, even if we mess up, but just putting ourselves out there like that is it's huge, and also really motivating to get out there again.
Well, the more you do it, the easier it gets. And so you really did the 4 C's. You had a commitment to go. You had to have the courage. Okay, I've got to go to the library because I really want to be spreading this. And then your capability, you you have some capability, but even then, when you go, you're like, oh, but then after it's over, and even during it, when you're talking to people, you get that confidence. So you can see like these 4 C's really are helpful. But also what was helpful, and it's one of the things I wanted to share as well, is like you said, you're using affirmations, all is well. You could say everything always works out for me. It's safe for me to go speak today. It's safe for me to be at the library, right? It's whatever that is for you. And I don't know if there's any other affirmations you're using, or do even the precepts.
I think I do use the precepts, and like, do not worry, be compassionate to yourself.
Mhm.
But also remembering, I remind myself that not everybody's going to like this talk. There's going to be maybe somebody in there that's not going to get it, or it's going to be, ask questions that are, ridiculous or whatever. So preparing myself ahead of time for that possibility is helpful. It didn't happen with this group, luckily, but I've had that in the past where I left feeling like I hadn't really got my point across to one person. But in the end, I had to look at it like, well, but 6 other people got it.
Right.
So, we are putting ourselves out there, and we have to have confidence that, or have to remember that not everybody's going to want what we're offering, but it's not enough to stop us. We should, move through that and try again.
Well, there's that great story. It's like a fable or whatever that goes with the precepts about being humble. And there was a minister, and he was giving a sermon, and there was a husband and wife there, and the husband loved it and ended up wanting to leave his wife because of the sermon. And then so he went up to the minister, oh my God, I loved your sermon. It was the best ever, and it changed my life. And then the wife walked up and said, I hated your sermon. It ruined my life. It's the worst sermon ever. And really, that's life, right? There's going to be people who love what you're doing, and there's going to be people who hate what you're doing, especially in this day and age, right? You go on to some of the TikToks or Reels or anything, and you see some of the comments, you're like, whoa, that is crazy. But it kind of goes hand in hand with what we're saying here. There's always going to be people who maybe don't like or want what you're offering, and there's always people who do. So you just take it with the same grain of salt, right? It's you stay humble and say thank you, no matter what that is, because even the people who may not like what you're doing right now, you can thank them for that. Because sometimes I remember, this just is an example that pops into my head about Kathleen. Yeah, hope. Sherry says hope for grace from others. Exactly. So Kathleen went to this class. It was a marketing class, and she made a presentation. And this was like years and years and years ago, before she started having so much online. And this one guy was from Florida, and he was really like crass and dropped F-bombs and was just in your face kind of. And he told her, you're just wasting your time. You need to put more online. You need to be, and she was, Kathleen's like this really gentle, kind, loving person. And so she was really upset. And she called me. She's like, oh my God, this is what this guy said. And it's like, well, we can take the truth in a more loving way, right? Like, yes, his delivery was so bad and so hurtful, but what he said was actually true. And you can like actually take some of these classes that she had as like self-study classes and make videos and put them more online. And that's what she did, right? So this guy's advice was really gross and icky and offended her, and she was ready to say, oh my God, no, I can't, I'm not going to listen to this guy. But then when we were able to step away from it and have a talk about it, it was like, oh wow, what he said was actually gold and really helpful. So sometimes when people come at us with things, we have to also just listen, because it might be something that we need to hear. Like, so for you, Kelly, having somebody not like it or asking weird questions, it helps you later on to go, you know what? Now I know some of the things I need to include in order to help prevent questions like this, or at least help mitigate it, or at least now I know the answer or how to approach it. So a lot of times these uncomfortable situations we're in, they actually help us grow and be better. They don't feel comfortable. They're horrible. They're horrifying. Like when I taught my first Reiki class, and oh my God, I won't even bore you with all the details, but let me just tell you, every single thing I did was like met with resistance. And no, I don't think so. It was my first class, but I learned so much from that class. I still talk about it. And it was in 2008. And I still talk about it because the lessons I learned were really huge, and they helped me to be a better teacher very early on. So I have to be grateful for that, right, Kelly? I mean, we go through
Yeah.
difficult times.
Yeah, because it's not the tragedy that we think it is when we feel like we've failed. You haven't really failed, you've just learned something. And you can look at it as a failure, or you can think, what you were saying, what do you take from that? And what do you change in your next presentation or your next class, or you know, what do you look for in a student even? You know,
Exactly. Because, yeah, and that's really important too for you teachers. You don't have to take every student that comes to you. If you feel like, and Denise Duffield Thomas talks about this a lot, don't just take people because you need the money or you want the experience or whatever that is. You have to really vet people and make sure that they're a good fit for you. Because when you feel weird about taking somebody, I can guarantee you it's not going to go well. It never does. And Kelly and I can tell you from lots of experience that it really just doesn't ever go well when you take someone that probably you shouldn't, or it's not going to turn out well. So just always trusting our gut too. And one thing that you mentioned, Kelly, is like, yeah, you're never losing, or you're always learning. And that's something they say in the entrepreneur world. There is no losing. You're always learning, no matter what. you're always learning. If you're in a race and you come in second, you're learning what you could do now to be number one, right? There's always a learning process. There's always a growth process, and it really helps us. So yeah, it's uncomfortable. Like when I was in the cannabis space, oh my God, I can't even tell you guys. So, I mean, I'm literally like, okay, mom's in the house now. So womp womp. And they would just look at my product and be like, what? That's so dumb. How are you ever going to make money with this? And actually, you know, I was just a little early to the party, but I did make money for it, and it was needed in some states. So that was retribution, but it was really hard. You know, you're going in there kind of like with Animal Reiki. We go in, people don't know what it is. People are like, that's weird. What you're doing is weird. And we just have to go, yeah, it is weird, but it works. So there's that. And then they go, oh, well, she's pretty confident, right? So we've got to practice what we're doing too. And you got to fail. I mean, well, not fail. You got to learn, right? You got to learn. You got to learn the hard way sometimes. Because if Kelly had never gone and done a presentation and shared, then her community would be really small. People wouldn't know. But luckily, Kelly gets out into her community. She's in a lot of shelters. She doesn't mind speaking. I mean, yes, COVID prevented a lot of us from getting out, but she's out there sharing it. And the more you share, the more confident you get. And even if it's like your first time, right? Your first time you're going to do a presentation, know your material. That's one of my big tips. Know your material. If you know your material, then you're going to feel confident. It's going to come once you start talking, because you're going to know your material. Talk in the bathroom, talk in your car, make up, you know, talk to a friend, do presentations, do like, so what do you think of this? Do you understand this? What's missing from this? It's really important that you get your practice in so you can build your capability and your skill. And then another thing that I do, and I know Kelly, you're big on this because you're very friendly and smiley. I get my resting face is the like B word resting face. But when you smile brings you confidence. Like, so when I'm in the cannabis space, not so much Animal Reiki because people are a little more nice because they love animals, but in the cannabis space, you know, it was pretty harsh because you have two kinds of people. You have stoners, and then you have people who are business people who are pretty sharky. And so you learn really quickly that if you smile, they will, oh, okay, they smile back, right? Because everybody's at war. Everybody's like, who is this? Who's coming in? Who's going to come take my place? And it's like, hi, yes, I'm the mom, but I'm nice, I'm friendly. And that actually helps build your confidence, because then people react to you. They smile at you. They say hi to you. So that's a really easy confidence builder, is just to smile, right? Don't you think, Kel?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the, you know, something else I was thinking about when you were saying that is that one of the things I did on last week was just admit that I hadn't done one for a while and I was a little nervous about it.
You know,
So, you know, let's all breathe into our bellies kind of thing. And everybody laughed, and then I settled down and it was fine. So I, you know, keeping that humor and that you know, that confidence through your smiling is also, yeah, absolutely important.
it really is. And also, you know, one other thing, it's like, as you're talking about presenting, something that's really powerful when you're presenting to build your confidence, find somebody in the audience that's smiling at you and talk to them. And because it helps you to feel like, oh, there's somebody. So like, you know, right now I see Alice and Kelly and Claudia, and it's easy for me to talk because I see them smiling and they're engaging. So it's like, oh, that's why I love Zoom when people are on camera, because I'm like, hey, my people, they're understanding what I'm saying, and they're nodding their head in agreement, and whatever that is. So you can find that person in your audience, whether you're on Zoom or you're in person, and really talk to them. You know, you can always, I mean, you know, you want to be looking everywhere, but come back to that person when you start to lose your confidence, because, or you have a plant, like have somebody that knows and loves you there, so that they're smiling, and so that you can smile, because there's nothing worse than seeing someone present or share when they're really nervous and they're not happy, because you're like, well, does this make you happy? I mean, do you like what you do? Right, Cal? You
Yeah, yeah.
have to be smiling.
You can lose somebody really fast that way, right? I know
Yeah.
I don't want to watch somebody like that.
No. So, and it you really just comes from nerves. Like we can see it, but if you want people to like join in, because if I'm saying, okay, well, I do animal Reiki and yeah, it's really nice, but that's one thing. But I'm like, oh my gosh, I love animal Reiki. It's so powerful. And I have been practicing for this long and I can't tell you, how effective it is. And I'd love to share some stories with you. And that creates excitement, right? So even when you're talking, no matter if you're talking to one person, you're talking to a group of people, it's the same thing. It takes a lot of confidence to talk to one person. It takes a lot of confidence to talk to a lot of people. But if you know what you're talking about, you feel really good about what you're talking about, then that could be really effective. So,
Yeah, and
oh, go ahead, Cal.
I was just gonna, you mentioned stories, and I think that's a really huge part too, is, when we're sharing a story, that's our experience. So we know what happened there. I mean, it's not like, we're trying to remember exactly all the things about Reiki and why it works and all of that. But, your story is something that people really relate to and can really pave the way for comfort. And you know what you're talking about because it happened to you. So that's makes it easier.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah, Mel.
Hi, all.
Hi.
Yeah, when I talk about it, people always know how much I love it because they can feel it on my energy and they can see it in my face. And they're just like, I can see how much you love it. And it's like, and then I'm like, I do, because then I realize that I'm actually glowing and that I have the energy that comes out and I get so excited. And then people smile. And it's just like, it's such a contagious feeling when you love something so much and then it like rubs off on the person you're talking to and they see it go back. So it's like this back and forth energy.
Yeah.
And it's so true. Like when you love something, express it, let it out and show it and like shine your light with it because people will notice it and they feel it. And it just makes such a huge difference. So absolutely.
100. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that, Mel, because I know that you go out and talk to a lot of people about this and you always have a really good response. So thank you for sharing that. So just a real fast recap before we go into some more details is, we've got the 4C formula, the what is it? I don't even know. Oh, commitment, courage, capability, and confidence. And then smiling, right? That's really powerful. Affirmations and the precepts, right? For today only, do not worry. Just really going in there in that energy of the precepts and that humility, right? Like what Kelly was sharing. She said right away, hey, I haven't done this in a while, so you'll have to forgive me. And let's just do a really quick breathing exercise. That's really powerful. You can say, I've never done this before. Hey, or this is really awkward for me. I'm not great at public speaking. So I really appreciate your patience with me if I stumble a little bit. Being humble, especially, I'm so glad because I mean, years and years and years ago, and Kelly can probably attest to this with me, we're about the same age, is that humility really wasn't celebrated like it is now. Like you can be humble and it's really celebrated. So be humble, tell people this is what I'm feeling. And it really is effective. And knowing your material, just know your material. I know Mel knows her material. She loves her material. She's out there sharing her material. And so that's really important. And remember, you're going to not be perfect every time. Every single time you do it, it's never going to be perfect. You're always going to want to improve. And that's a good thing. Celebrate that. So when you come off like what Kelly did, she comes off and maybe this guy gives her a negative thing and she's at first, of course, our feelings are always going to be hurt. I'm not saying you're never going to have your feelings hurt if you have confidence. Of course, your feelings are going to get hurt. But when you can step back and look at what and listen to what the person's saying and look at what it means, then you can go, oh, wow, I can actually improve this now. So there is no bad advice or no bad comments because you can grow and learn from whatever they're sharing. You can really like have somebody help you. Like, when Kathleen and I, we're so lucky we have each other because when we have these difficult times, we can come together, or like me and Kelly, this happened. What do I do? And then like Kelly can go, oh, well, actually, it's not that bad. This is what I see. And then I go, oh yeah, okay. Now that I've taken myself out of it and away from it, I can actually see that there's a solution, that there's a miracle behind that, right? There's always something hidden in something dark, right? There's always light in something dark. So don't take criticism to heart like, oh my gosh, this is an attack on you. Sometimes it's just a way for other people to share their opinion in a very not very polite way, and that's okay. So Anne says confidence equals authenticity. And then Mary Lynn says, I bring pictures of me with the animals and share the story. It's a personal connection. Oh yeah. And Mary Lynn, I'm gonna ask you to speak in just a second, but I just want to get through this last little part because I know Mary Lynn has had some really extraordinary things happen. So just know your material, read it again and again. And then one last tip that I have for you is when you're going to talk to people that see you. So that's not necessarily your family. Your family sees you in a certain light. And so if you go, oh, I'm going to go do this presentation, your family might say, oh, really? Oh, you don't seem like a very good public speaker. Oh, you've got a stutter, or, oh, whatever that is, your family, thank you, Mel, for that heart. Your family may or may not be your biggest cheerleader. I know my family loves me and they support me, but also my mom is like, oh my God, like the worst about, are you sure you're going to feel comfortable doing that? Because she's really insecure. So it's her stuff is coming out towards me. So you really want to be careful who you tell. I'm really lucky because I have a lot of people in the business world. I have a lot of friends that are business people. I have all of you. So I can reach out and say, hey, Cal, this is what I planned on doing. What do you think? And how does this sound? And then Kelly will go, oh yeah, that sounds like this. Or, Kelly's like one of my biggest supporters. Oh, sis, you can do this. You've got this, you got that. Don't worry about it. Or you don't forget, because I talk really fast, as you guys all know, talk slower when you're presenting. That's one of my biggest problems, right? And then I'm telling Kelly, do stuff faster. Because Kelly and I are like yin and yang too. Kelly's like, she's a little bit slower, a little more methodical. And I'm like, no, I got to speed it up, Cal. And for me, she's like, you slow down just a little bit, just go to a downshift, right? So we're both like in different gears, but there is a meeting in the middle where we really help each other. So find somebody who sees you. And I know that when I did Marie Forleo's B School, one of the very first projects was you had to reach out to, I think, 21 people that you knew and ask them to share with you the biggest strengths they saw in you. And that was so empowering for me. It was really cool because some of the things that people saw in me, I did not see in myself at all. And some of the things that people saw in me, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Huh. Okay. And so you don't know, and it's kind of good. You kind of go, wow, all right, I can really expand on this, or maybe I need to tone this down a little, whatever that is. So reach out to people that see you. Your family sees you, but they see you in a very biased way. Other people in your life, your friends, your colleagues, they see you in a completely different light. So make sure, especially if you're having problems with, you're in a group. Like if I had problems in this group, if I was like getting weird feedback or something, I would go to Kelly and say, what do you think is happening here? Because this is what I'm trying to achieve, but it seems like I'm getting the opposite. So what do you see for me? And then Kelly can comment. I don't know, Kelly, if you want to share a little bit about that too.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have somebody you can get feedback from that's honest, and people aren't afraid to share the truth, even if it's kind of uncomfortable. And that's why we work so well together, because we just like, yeah, that's not a good idea.
For sure.
Okay, shut that down right now. And on the other, and then like you said, it's constantly like, Kelly, speed it up, Leah, slow it down. But yeah, and I think going to your family, they have all these ideas of who you are from when you lived at home, pretty much, right? And the growth that we make isn't obvious sometimes. So yeah, it's important to have a friend, and it's really good to have somebody outside what we do as well.
Yeah.
Who can see it with different eyes that aren't all tied up in our community, but can see it from an outside perspective of what we're working on.
Oh, that's such good advice. Yeah, no, it's so true. And we all have people, you may not even know them that well, and that's okay. People love to give advice. People love to be asked for advice. So don't think, oh, I don't want to bother them, or, oh, they're too busy, ask. I mean, if they're too busy, they'll tell you. I mean, I tell people, oh yeah, I'm too busy, maybe talk to so-and-so and they can help you, right? Um, but I also really like it when people go, do you mind looking at this for me? Do you mind running this by you? Of course, that's probably the bossy nature in me. And I'm like, yes, of course. I want to see it. I want to edit it, right? But people love that. So don't hesitate to ask in your community, with your peers, or just like if you know some business people and you're like, hey, I'm going to be doing this. Would you mind if I gave you like a little 5-minute pitch? Or would you mind looking over my speech? Or would you mind looking over my presentation? I think it's really powerful too, because we miss things. We're so, like, I know when I'm doing a presentation, or like when I do those manuals that I've been creating, I miss stuff because I'm seeing it the way I want it to be, not the way it necessarily is. So just really making sure that you have somebody else. So I would love to have Mary Lynn speak, because Mary Lynn has been doing some really big things just recently. And she presented to her library, and she was asked to be on, like, to do a podcast, or to do her own podcast. And she then asked to be on a local TV station. So a lot of things are going great for Mary Lynn. So I would love for Mary Lynn to unmute and come on if you can, Mary Lynn. Let me go to you.
I've been having difficulty with connection.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shoot. Well, you know what, Mary Lynn, next week we're going to talk about fear.
But okay.
Oh,
so here we
oh, we can't really, you're breaking up a lot.
fear. Yeah. See, I experienced that.
Yeah, it's really bad. Can you go to a different place in the house? Let me see if Mary Lynn.
Well, she can go to turn off her video.
She did have her video.
Let me
Oh,
try.
I can see her though.
Yeah.
Oh, here. All right. I'll turn it off. Okay. Let's see if it works.
It could be where you are in the house too.
Another area of the house.
Oh, that's better, Mary Lynn.
Right.
That's much better.
Let me okay. Oh, right, here I am. So
Okay.
Oh boy. Well, yeah.
Oops. Looks like we lost her. So we'll wait, we'll give her a second. But anyway, going back to this whole confidence, remember that you find the courage, have your commitment, then find your courage. And then, just go through those 4 C's, because when you go through those 4 C's, it's going to make it a lot easier for you, because you're going to know that there's a process. Every single time there is the same process. Every time, even if you've spoken in front of people over and over and over and over and over again, right? You still might get nervous. So you got to go through those 4 C's again, your commitment, your courage, your capability, and then your confidence. And it's just over and over and over. And it's something that they practice in the entrepreneur world, but it's something that's good for everybody, for children, for you, for everybody. So really think about that the next time you're lacking confidence, and how you can find, like, deepen your commitment and find your courage, and then, really lean into your capability and your skills, even if they're not that strong. Practice, right? So Mary Lynn, are you settled now?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes, so twice at the library. One was daytime and one was evening. And then one with my vet. And that was a different audience. So I learned, I think through you all, that tailoring your presentation to a particular audience is important. So what I said, I brought some of what I said to the vet and the vet.
Mary Lynn, we can't hear you. There's something wrong with the sound. Oh, now it's better. It's
Okay.
like you hit something.
Oh, okay. So yeah, we're having thunder. It's thundering around here. I don't know if that's why, but yes. So I did bring some information from the library presentation to the vet and with her vet techs, but I also needed to include a little more medical information. And so I did that. Also found that showing pictures on a screen, what do you call those, zip drive things? So I did that, and then I was able to branch out a little bit and explain to the audience what was going on and the reaction of the particular animal to the Reiki, So that was nice, and it brought out people's own animal stories about behavior, and I found that was my telling stories and how I went about the Reiki, the meditating, was a help to the people, to the audience, so they could. And I also offered meditation and chair time, and people appreciated that. And now I have a TV show a TV opportunity next month. And I have my girlfriend's dog will be co-starring with me.
Oh, you froze. I don't know if you can hear us, Mary Lynn. We might have lost her, but that's really cool. And I love that. I would like to know how she got the opportunities, because that would be really helpful too. So maybe when she comes back on. So I would love to open up, we're kind of coming up on time, but I would love to open it up for any questions. I'm going to go back to gallery view. Any questions? So you can unmute yourself, or you can raise your virtual hand, whatever that is. But if you have any questions that we can kind of workshop, that's always, oh yeah, Claudia.
So I like the idea of, having talks in libraries or even at the vet or the shelter. If I were to make a presentation, could I ask you for help? You or Kelly? Or, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Pointers and.
We have some basics. You're a SARA member. So in SARA, we have some basics that we can offer you, and you can build on that and put your own stories in it. Because Mary Lynn's right, you really do need your own stories in it.
For sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh.
We have lots of different things. And then, I can show you on Canva how you can do something. So when I did the mindfulness with horses, the photo presentation didn't come out exactly like I wanted, but it was good enough. And I was able to do that. It's kind of hard to take photos and do a presentation on Canva unless you know this really simple hack. But yeah, there's things that we can do together, and I can show you, and it's really super fast. It's not a big commitment. But of course, and Kelly's done lots of presentations. She's always, I know, a great resource to talk to. So yeah, absolutely. We are here for you. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you'll learn more. You're in level 3 with me. You're going to get a whole packet on resources, on business resources, and on doing presentations. And then we'll talk more about that too in class as well. So yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Good.
Thank you. Yeah. So does anyone else have a question? And you can either unmute or raise your hand. And so I can see you. Anyone? No questions? Everybody's so shy. People have to have questions. I thought Claudia would open the floodgates to questions, but no. So, all right, I'm looking and making sure nobody is unmuting. So yeah, so, if you have a presentation, reach out, let us know. If I can't help you, Kelly can, or we have other people in SARA, and even Mary Lynn. I mean, she's doing it and she might be really helpful. And Ella, you came late and I didn't say hello. So thank you so much for joining us. Ella's joining us from Israel. And so we're very honored to have her here with us. And Monica is from Croatia, and Alice is from the UK, and we got Carolyn from Canada, and Anne's in Panama. I've just got quite and then Claudia's in Nova Scotia. We have quite the big international crowd here today. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. But hopefully this talk on confidence has given you some tools that you can use. And again, there'll be a little recap about this. I'll put these all in the recap email, just the bullet points of what you need to be doing. And then I'll put a link to this graphic, or I'll put the graphic in there so that you have it. And just know that it's going to take time. You're never going to be perfect, and that's okay. You don't have to be perfect, right, Kelly? Like, perfection is not what you're seeking here.
Right. And the other thing is that you're getting your name out there. Yes. and making connections and networking, and that's really important too.
Absolutely. And you're also spreading the word. Don't forget, Animal Reiki, the way we practice it, is not very common. And so the more you get out and talk about it, the more you're spreading it, the more people know about it, and it becomes more popular. Now it's more popular than it ever has been, and we could never have done it without all the people in SARA and all of Kathleen's students and my students and your students, Kelly, and everyone else's students. But we still need to make it more normal. I mean, we would love for people. I was just watching, I don't know if all of you saw on the news, the little baby moose that got stuck up in Alaska. It was in the water and they were trying to get it out. And it was kind of violent the way they were like handling this poor little guy. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, how amazing if they would have had the Let Animals Lead method of Animal Reiki, where they could have really created a calmer space for both the mother and the baby. Instead, these guys, and they did, nothing against the guys. They were doing everything they knew how to do. You don't know what you don't know, right? But it was just like, oh, when they were pulling that little guy out and he like fell and they were like on him, it was like, oh. But if they would have had, not that it would have looked differently, but maybe the energy would have been different if they would have had this. So it's just something that if we can share it, and I love that Mary Lynn's going to be on TV, and don't be afraid. You could contact your local TV station or podcast. People are always looking for people to interview. So don't be shy, get out there. I don't know, Kelly, if you have anything to say before we get to our meditation.
No, you covered a lot.
We did cover a lot. And next week, we're going to talk about fear. And I know I should have done fear first, but it was kind of like this fear thing just really came up because of something that happened to me and also to Scarlett, that I know all of you, met through the Mindfulness for Horses and when she spoke. But there's a lot of fear, especially right now in today's environment and society. And so we're going to talk about fear, because even before you have commitment, sometimes fear will prevent you from being committed. You might be too fearful to even go out and have that commitment to go present somewhere or to go offer Animal Reiki, the fear of rejection or anything else. Oh, Anne, you unmuted. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, I just wanted to share quickly that my experience when you were talking about the little moose or the elk, this energy doesn't preclude space or time.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
You can just be thinking of that elk, and when you saw it on TV, you could just connect with your higher self and send it out there, because the animal will still feel it. It'll still get to him, even though you're not nearby and maybe it happened yesterday. That's been my experience.
I love that. No, and that's what I did. I was just thinking like, oh, these guys, it would be so great, like on a larger scale if people knew about it. But no, you're absolutely right. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that's exactly right. Like I sat there and I was like sending love to the moose, sending love to the guys, and sending love to the mother, because you know firsthand how powerful that is. Like, you're just one person, but you can make a huge difference. So thank you so much for bringing that up, because that's really important to hear. And I was focused on something else. So I love that. And this is why I love our community. This is why I love when we speak up, because there's always something really important to share. So Susan, you have your hand up. Yeah.
I know we're headed for the meditation, so I'll just be brief. Think about the bigger picture too. I did social media for the Soul Collage community just as a help for about 7 years. And working with Mari Smith, who is like the queen of Facebook, she said that then, it's probably more now, you have to be in front of somebody's eyes at least 7 times for just to register. So many of our talks are not even personal. They're just getting Let Animals Lead Reiki out there. So what you talked about, though, Kelly and Leah and Ann, thank you so much, because this was so helpful. Really
Oh,
great.
thank you so much, Susan. And thank you so much for bringing that up. Oh, this was perfect timing. Oh, great, Sherry. I'm so glad that you got something out of this. I love that you said that, because that is true. In advertising, you have to see something 7 times for you to finally go, oh yeah, I should sign up for that, or I should look into that, or I really want to do that. And that's why I apologize for all the emails we send out sometimes about our classes or about our fundraisers, but we do that because people wait until that last minute. And again, like what Susan said, they have to see it 7 times. And you'd be shocked. I'll send out like 3 emails the last day of the fundraiser, and you'd still be shocked. We get our most sales on the first day and the last day of the fundraiser. And there's always at least 4 or 5 sales after midnight. I mean, it is like clockwork. People just wait to the last minute. And
Which for a couple were us in October, remember?
oh, I was
We're in the hotel, like,
I know that is true, but we made the deadline. We didn't wait until after. And we could have waited until after and had special treatment. But we play the rules by the rules too. But Susan, that's really valuable. And thank you, Anne, so much for that too, because this is, again, goes back to our community. It's really important for you to speak up and share your voice, no matter if you think, well, everybody probably knows this, or like, what if Anne would have said, well, everybody knows that energy knows no time or space. And so, if you send it to the biz, then you would all be robbed from that really important information, or, what Susan shared, or what Kelly shared, or what Mary Lynn shared. So, or Claudia, just asking a question, oh, can we get help? There are no silly questions here. Everybody's question is honored. And I'm telling you right now, and Kelly knows this, someone will ask a question and they think, oh, I know this is really basic and I know everybody knows this. And then they ask it and you're like, actually, no, this is really good. I'm so glad you brought this up, because we need to talk about it, right? And there's always divine timing. Everybody, when you're speaking up, you're sharing something that really needs to be shared at that moment. That's why you feel the need to share it and to unmute yourself and ask a question. So I just encourage all of you to please know that this is a really safe space. I know I said that one time, I go, this is a really safe space. And they're like, yeah, but it's out in the public. Well, it's still a safe place. I mean, even if it's in the public, it's still safe, because we're creating that energy of safety here and we're honoring it. So I've never had any bad negative comments. I mean, nobody comments, so I guess that's a good thing. But we've never had bad comments. We've never had negative comments. And I think that that's really powerful. Now, who knows? I mean, maybe that's a sign of when you really make it, you get some negative comments. But just know that we honor all questions. Kelly's here with me so much. And we really love it when people ask questions, because it just opens up a whole new conversation. So again, next week, we're going to talk about fear. We have a lot of really important things to share about fear, because it's very real right now, but I have some really great information to help you heal that fear. And of course, good old precepts, right? Do not worry, fear is distraction. So that is one of our big ones, right, Cal?
Absolutely.
Okay, so let us get into our space. We will get nice and comfortable. Make sure your back is nice and straight, feet on the floor, or you can sit cross-legged, whatever that is for you. And we bring our hands into Gasho at our heart, and we set our intention that we're open to receive whatever it is that we need most at this moment in time. And we set our intention that we're here to hold space for any and all who need it. So if you want to take a moment and invite a person or an animal or even a situation that you're dealing with into this circle, we welcome that. And know that all who enter will receive a beautiful healing. And whenever you're ready, you can put your hands face up or face down in your lap. And you might want to just close your eyes to close out all outside distractions. And let's just focus on our breath, breathing in through our nose, pulling your breath deep into your belly or as far as your breath can go. Expand your belly, and then slowly release your breath out your mouth. And again, breathing in deeply through your nose and pulling your breath either into your belly or into your heart area and expanding that area. And then slowly releasing your breath out your mouth and making sure your out breath is a little bit longer than your in breath. And this very simple breathing technique stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system and helps bring immediate calm into your body. And whenever you're ready, you can bring your breath back to a natural state, just a very slow in and out. And I'd like you to focus on your breath coming in through your nose. And when it hits your belly, it ignites your beautiful, true essence inside of you. And on the out breath, the light of your essence expands through your belly. Breathing in light and love and expanding your beautiful light and love at your belly outwards. As you breathe in and out, envision the light within you spreading down into your legs, into your feet, coming up into your chest, your shoulders, your arms, and your hands. Your beautiful inner light expanding and coming up into your throat and your neck and into your head. This beautiful inner light can be gold or purple or blue, whatever color you see. It is your own unique light. And this is the light the animals see and the light the animals connect to. And as you breathe in and out, imagine that every cell of your being is illuminated in light. You are glowing this beautiful essence of joy and love, your true essence. And now imagine the light seeping out every pore of your being into the space around you. As you breathe in and out, your light grows brighter and brighter until you're enveloped in this beautiful bubble of light. Like the sun, your light shines everywhere. And I'd like you to bring to mind an animal you love deeply. They could be an animal that's here with you today or an animal that's passed. And bring them to mind and see them as the beautiful light that they are. Invite them to join you, to merge their light with yours. And feel their love for you, their deep love and appreciation for you, connecting with your heart and expanding your light further. In this beautiful space, we understand deeply that we are all one. We understand that our love is limitless. Animals help us realize that what's most important in life is love. The love for each other, the love for nature, the love for our world. And as you sit in this space, breathing in and out, expanding your light, focus on that beautiful feeling of love. Focus on the feeling of gratitude for your animal. I want you to bring your focus back to your breath. And we're going to be coming out of our meditation, but I want you to keep your animal in your heart. I want you to keep the energy of love and compassion and joy in your heart. And we bring our hands together in Gasho. We set our intent to end the meditation, but to keep our heart open and our animal with us. so that we can attack our day with love, with compassion, and with understanding. Whenever you're ready, you can bring yourself back and open your eyes. Thank you so much.